Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 339 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our book, the third one, is called From Letters to Leaders, Leveraging Your Fraternity or Sorority Experience to Land Your Dream Job. That is on Amazon, so go and pick up that book today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, during the pandemic, it was so easy for me to bury myself in work, in writing our books, and I'm even getting started on a doctorate right now. So now it's time for me to rebuild all of those relationships from before the pandemic and make them stronger, which is why I asked our next guest to join our program. Maria Mantoudakis is an international best-selling author of Tsunami to Greatness. Oh, she's an award-winning motivational speaker, a transformational leader, and she's a personal development coach of more than 20 years. Maria is the founder and CEO of Recreate Success Now, LLC. She combines her knowledge and experience to empower her clients to reclaim and transform their life in their life journey to success and greatness. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. You know, I met you, I felt such good energy, and I said, we got to talk about this book and all about everything that you're writing about. I think it's fantastic. I read the book and I absolutely loved it. So I know that our college student listeners are going to really enjoy it as well. But I want to go back to your undergraduate degree because you went to one of my favorite universities in the country, Rutgers University in New Jersey, for your undergraduate experience. So what made you choose Rutgers?
So one of my high school teachers mentioned that he had graduated from Rutgers. And in my head, I said, that's it. That's the school. Now, I have to share something with you, Michael. I had just come from Greece only a few years before. I was here for like 2 years. Took the SATs without speaking English. My parents had no money to send me to school. And at that time, Rutgers was an all-boys school.
Wow.
And I couldn't afford the $15 for the application. So that's the reason I would love to tell your audience to never, ever, ever give up. Because sometimes in your gut, you know. And because my scores were so weird, right? Like, obviously, my English score was terrible. I had straight A's in school. My math was high. The applications committee decided to bring me in and ask me questions, actually interview me.
Oh.
And during that interview, I told them, I can't even afford to come here. I want to so badly. Number one, they told me they just started admitting women, which was very good news.
Yeah.
And number two, Dean McCormick at that time, I don't know if you've heard of him, he was very famous within Rutgers. And he said to me, would you work for me full time and go to school for free?
Yes.
So that's how I got to go to Rutgers. But like I said, the minute I heard it, I just knew that that's where I was going, even though it was impossible to do so. So sometimes we just know, right? Like, I know you're writing all those books, so somehow we know what comes next.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty weird the way that the world works, you know? Sometimes just the perfect opportunity just lands in your lap. I mean, clearly it did for you. I mean, go to school for free and work for the president? Okay. Like, what else is there? There's nothing else to talk about. The answer is yes, where do I sign? Okay. Right? I mean, there's no argument.
Pretty incredible. Pretty
That's
incredible.
All right, so you're the author of this international best-selling book. It's called Tsunami to Greatness. Talk to our audience. What made you want to write this particular book?
Right. So, again, very weird. Everything happened backwards. I met the publisher first, who asked me to write a book. And during a meditation, I heard Tsunami to Greatness. So now I knew I was writing a book. I had the title. I had no clue what I was going to write about. And I actually sat still for a year. And this one day I was sitting at Starbucks having my coffee, and two young boys that were teenagers came and sat next to me. I'm trying not to listen to the conversation, but very quickly I realized they were talking about the attempts they were making to ending their life. And I'm sitting at the next table wanting to stop that conversation because I had so much to say to them. But something stopped me. I was like, these boys came to talk to one another. The last thing they need is the lady at the next table lecturing them, right? So I just stopped, but I had so much to say to them that I took out my computer and I just started typing everything I had to say to them. And that became my international best-selling book, Tsunami to Greatness. So the book talks about our life tsunamis. And actually, it starts, as you know, when we hit bottom, when we're actually hitting bottom, just like these boys. And we're totally paralyzed, right? Like nobody can even tell you, oh, do this, or you're paralyzed at that point. How to snap yourself out of it, right? Because again, in your gut, this is not the answer, but it's hopelessness and fear that actually leads you to that, right? So that's basically how I wrote my book.
Wow.
Everything again happening, not in the right order, but
Yeah, if you're listening out there, this is not the usual order that things happen, okay? Usually it's like the exact opposite, but everything just kind of fell into place. I mean, you almost had the title before anything, and then eventually, by chance, somebody sits next to you and something happens. But you know what? I think life is all about that. I mean, in terms of job opportunities and careers and things like that, sometimes just it's hard to explain how the world works, right? I mean, sometimes things just happen and you kind of have to go with the flow. And you know what? Some of the biggest opportunities in my life were completely unexpected. Things I never in a million years would have thought would have happened, but they did. And I'm sure grateful for them, but they weren't expected.
exactly. So that's, if I had a message for your audience, it would be go with the flow, never give up, never give up.
Mm-hmm.
And inside of you, you know what the next step is. And even if it sounds totally impossible and incredible and it will never happen, just know that it will, and it does.
Hmm. But see, the thing is, the people who are listening right now, they all know what fear is like. They all know what negative thinking is like. We've all been there. I've been there. You've been there. We've all
Yep.
been at that moment where there's nothing but negative thoughts in our head. So, how do you harness that fear and the negative thinking and use that to actually fuel your success? So, what do you suggest when one of our listeners is experiencing fear and negative thinking in their head?
Right, right. So the very first thing I would say is that you are not fearful. It's the thoughts that are in your head at any given moment that are triggering fear. So it's not you that's depressed, it's not you that is anxious. It's the thoughts that are actually triggering whatever you're experiencing. So now let's think about thoughts. Like, where do they come from, right? Some of them are habits. Sometimes we just think the same thought every single day. And out of habit, we have negative thinking. And sometimes they reflect the past. Something happened yesterday. I'm expecting it to happen again today, which again doesn't make sense because we know that your past does not equal your future. So I always tell the participants in my programs that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. So everything in your head proves that whatever you're thinking is right, but it's really false. It's false evidence appearing real. So I would tell the audience to think about it and ask themselves, is this true? Whatever I'm thinking, Is it true? And of course, immediately your head is going to say, yes, of course it's true. And then the second question is it really true? And that's where sometimes you kind of go, oh, well, let me think about it. So Michael, how do you get rid of negative thinking? Number one, if you're smiling, your brain does not allow negative thinking to go on. And you could try it. Think of something horrific and then smile and try to think about it again, and you can't. So I tell people, just take a pencil or a pen and stick it in your mouth. It's forcing you to smile. It puts that smile on your face by force, even when you can't. And that will start making all the negative thinking go away. Every single day, have a gratefulness journal. And what I mean is really a notebook or pieces of paper, but every single day, write 5 things you're grateful about. It's very interesting with teenagers because I tried this with teenagers and I said, could you write 5 things you're grateful about? And they stared at me like a deer in the headlights, like, I don't know what to write. So, okay, let me tell you some things I'm grateful about since this morning. Number one, I woke up. Imagine how many people did not. Number two, I was in a house. Imagine how many people aren't. I opened the closet and I had clothes. Imagine how many people don't have that. I had food. Imagine how many people in the world don't have those basic needs, right? So, oh my gosh, I could go on and on. Sometimes, I mean, my gratefulness journal will make people laugh because sometimes I'm grateful for my washing machine because I don't have to wash clothes by hand. Now, I grew up in Greece where that was a reality. You know, when I was growing up, I remember my grandmother and my mother pouring, hot water in a tub and actually sitting there and washing clothes. So just think about, oh my gosh, today in New Jersey, sunny day.
Mm.
Sunny day, spring is coming. So grateful for that. So if you really, really think about it, anything, you just look down and look at yourself. And that gives you so many things to be grateful about, right? And a second thing is that if you are fearful, start writing down what you're afraid of. Now, what happens to us is when we're afraid of something, we want to run away from it. We try not to think about it. Some people start working really hard. They make their schedule so tight where they can't think about this thing that they're afraid of. So what I would tell you is, imagine if somebody's chasing you. The faster you run, the faster they run. But what happens if you stop and you turn around, you start chasing them? So that what I would say is number one, stop, don't run away from it, and just write it down. Now, the next thing that people forget, I think we all know it, but what you resist persists. If you push someone, most likely they will push you back even harder. So if we're trying to get out of our mind whatever you're afraid of, and we're pushing, it's just pushing back, it's not going anywhere. So the number one thing to do is to welcome it. This is so crazy and so hard, but don't forget that that fear is part of your life right now. So just say welcome, because the minute that you do, now you can let it go. Unless you embrace it, it will never let you let it go. So if you're feeling, I call it the 3 alarms, right? Anytime you're thinking negative thoughts, stop, redirect. Now, I could give you a whole reason as to why you should do that. And just one of them is every single being on this universe puts out energy. And again, many of you know about the law of attraction. Um, the happier we are, the higher the level of energy. We attract good things. The lower um, the energy that we vibrate, the more we attract negative things. So negative thinking makes us vibrate at a low energy level. And if you're thinking about the past, you're just attracting it again, right? So, and I know this is an old movie and maybe your audience can't relate to it, but there's a movie called The Groundhog Day
Okay.
where the guy just keeps waking up on the same day. And even as we watch it, we get so frustrated watching it because we're sick and tired of Groundhog Day. That's the day he's always waking up in. But that's basically what happens when we keep bringing into our existence the past. We just keep reliving it over and over again. So what do we say? Welcome, welcome. You're part of me. You're here to teach me something. Tell me already what you're trying to teach me, right?
Mhm.
And the next thing is releasing it. Now, how do you release it? Many of these fears and many of the negative thinking is stuck somewhere in our body. Like, when you think of that fear, I know when I do, most of the times it's stuck in my throat, like I could feel a lump. Sometimes it's stuck in your heart, sometimes it's stuck in your gut, right? But if you could locate that fear, all you need to do is visualize it. So if you know it's in your stomach, visualize it as a target and just focus on the center. And the minute that you focus on the center of your fear, it just, I call it zapping. It zaps and it disappears. So that's one way to release. There are so many ways. The Sedona method is a popular way. There's EFT tapping, where, and that's very popular. Whatever works for you, but make sure that you don't live with the fear. Make sure you don't live with the negative thinking, because there's such a bright, wonderful life in front of you. And yeah, that you need to go out there and live.
Really nice. I like that a lot. Now, you also have some exercises to fall in love with you, meaning yourself. So, what should you do when other people put you down?
Yes, yes. So, you're always going to bump into somebody who's going to try to tell you,
Mhm.
there's something wrong with you, right?
Right.
So, what I need to tell your audience, and every single time when I teach this, there's always somebody who pushes back because we have been taught we're only human, we're not perfect. And I'm here to tell you, you are perfect. You're perfect exactly as you are. Now, if you're a student, and let's say you're fantastic in English, but you just can't get math. And you're like, how could you tell me I'm perfect when I'm failing
Hmm.
math, right?
Hmm.
It just means that when you were built for your purpose, that did not involve math. All of us, the school system and the educational system is built where we're supposed to be able to do everything. We're supposed to be able to write and do math and do, take philosophy and, and we're supposed to do everything. But in reality, we're built for a purpose and we are perfect for that purpose. So when you wake up in the morning, you have to remember you're perfect. And nothing anyone could tell you could ever change that. Nothing anybody could tell you could ever change that. And like I said, Michael, that's the number one thing that people push back on me on. Like, you know, um, uh, how, I'm only human. I'm not perfect. Look at me. And what I have to say to you is think back when you were a baby. When you were born, every baby is happy. You know, you don't find a depressed baby or a baby with anxiety.
Mhm.
They're just happy. They're full of joy. They expect that they're going to be taken care of. They have nothing to worry about. Just want to let you know that's how you were born. Now, everyone around you educated you that you should worry. It's not that way. Maybe we shouldn't be happy. Maybe we should worry about things. And here we are, right? But I want you to know that you were born perfect. You're still perfect. And you should never allow other people's judgments to affect your growth. And the other thing that I have to tell everyone is don't ever give your power away to others. Meaning, if someone is horrible to you, it doesn't mean you have to be horrible back. You just know who you are and you let people be who they are, right? People are going to be who they are. And if that's a not nice person, you protect yourself from them. You get away from them if you can. If you can't, you just protect yourself as much as you can. So don't be just try to find people that are compatible with you, that understand your perfection, that support your perfection, that want to push you up, and surround yourself with those types of people, and that will make your life so much easier. And try to be drama free, right? I talk in my book about how forever I blamed my mother for everything that happened in my life. And when she passed away, I realized those were my decisions. So another way to love yourself is to take responsibility for your life. Even things that happen that you think other people caused, those things made you who you are. So even though you wish they didn't happen, they did, and it was for good. They always teach you a lesson.
Mm.
You come out of that bigger, stronger, and that's the reason that I call it's our journey to greatness, right? We go from tsunami, something horrible, to greatness. If you have someone in your life who is telling you horrible things, protect yourself, know who you are, don't give your power away to them. Just, stand in your greatness, and, you know, go on to the next phase of your life, right? Which is actually learning how to attract good people that will support you and love you.
100%. Yeah, you got to surround yourself with the right people. So you really need to do that inventory of the people around you and ask yourself, are they adding or are they subtracting to my life? And then make decisions accordingly. Very,
Yeah.
very important. Yeah, really good. Now, you have a wonderful sense of humor, and I get the sense that you got that from your dad, because you had this really funny story in the book about your father, and he's talking about pretty shoes. Talk
Yeah.
about that story with our listeners, because that's hilarious.
So my father had some philosophies that, of course, I fought him 100% every step of the way. So just as an example, he was telling me that I didn't need to go out there in order to find my life partner. He used to tell me, you don't even have to date, you don't have to look for anybody. Whoever is meant for you is going to come and find you, right? And I was like, that's crazy. If I don't come out of the house and if I don't date, how am I going to meet anybody? Well, the only thing I'm going to tell you, Michael, is how did I meet my ex-husband? The doorbell rang and I answered the door, and there he was standing. So, so of course he was like, I told you. And a few years later we got married. And my father used to say, that's how it works. I was like, okay. But the thing about him, and what he didn't like about my ex-husband, he used to compare him to pretty shoes. So when I was younger, I used to go buy shoes. And of course, there were the super high heels and you know, they were so painful, right? And now I watch some of the girls on TV and you could see I don't know, I think it was recently, I was watching The Bachelor, and the minute the girl didn't win, the first thing she did was take off her shoes, and she was.
That's right.
But back then we didn't. We stuck with the high heels and the painful, regardless of what was going on. So my father used to say, getting married, it's just like buying shoes. You know, Most people look for the pretty shoes. And by the way, that goes for men and women.
Yes, it does. True.
Most of the time, you're looking for the pretty shoes. And he said, the only thing they're going to do, they're going to hurt your feet. And if you go with the pretty ones, you're going to hurt your life, right? And he used to say, always go for comfortable. Buy the comfortable shoes where, regardless of what you're doing in life, you're not thinking of the pain in your feet, right? And whoever you're with, you're so comfortable.
Mm.
And it's not a painful experience. So that was my father's advice, to look at dating and meeting the partner of your life
Mhm.
as a shopping for shoes experience.
He's a wise man because you're absolutely right. I mean, if your shoes hurt, you're not thinking about anything else other than these painful feet that you have. I mean, right? I mean, you can't do anything with that. I mean, your life is over. You're just thinking, "Oh, my feet are killing me right now." So, so I think he's right. I mean, it's just brilliant. I think it's really, really brilliant. Now, I went through the pandemic just like everybody who's listening went through it. And you know what? Like that experience over like 2 years, there was some distance, I think, between me and some of the friends that I had in my life because we were all like isolating from each other. So how do we rebuild those relationships now?
Right. So if they were great relationships, you need to pick up the phone and have a conversation and go out for coffee and go out to lunch or dinner and just continue the relationship, right? Um, and I think also during the pandemic was a time when we reflected.
Mhm.
And sometimes if someone had done something to us, it kind of came up and replayed while, while we were in isolation, right? And what we have to remember in dealing with others is that we must be forgiving, and we must be kind and honest and happy despite how others may react, right? Um, because the bottom line is, it's not, I don't know, that during the book, I read a lot. And one of the things that I discovered is that it's not between us and others, it's between us and whoever we believe in, right? Like if you believe in God, it's really between us and God, or us and the superpower that you believe in. So all these people in your life are really actors in your movie, right? Your movie of life
Mhm.
has all these people in it. So, and some will come to teach you a lesson, and some will come to support you and love you. And just make sure that if you had really, really great relationships before the pandemic, you connect back with them, as soon as possible. If someone did something to you that was not, super serious, you use forgiveness, you talk about it, you work things out. And the other thing about other people that I love to talk about is, many years ago I worked for AT&T. They sent me to Thailand. And there, one of the weekends, I went to temple with the people that I worked with.
Mhm.
And the temple was the temple of the clay Buddha, is what they called it. And it was this huge Buddha. And, well, actually, now it was like all gold, but it used to have clay on the outside. And when the temple moved, they thought that since it's made out of clay, you could just pick it up and move it. So they asked a couple of guys to just pick it up and move it. They couldn't pick it up. And then more people came, they tried to move it, they could not pick up this Buddha. They ended up moving it by a crane. That's how heavy it was. And when they moved it, the story that they tell you is that this is every human being. When you look at them, you only see the clay and you say, oh, a couple of guys could pick it up and move it. Like, it's no big deal. I could deal with this person. But in actuality, every human being at the center is pure gold. So when you meet the people that you maybe don't like, you see this one person that aggravates you or is loud or whatever is going on for them, it's very smart to look through the clay and see their gold. What is it, that you really like about them? Because if you look, you will find the gold in everyone.
Mm.
So, but if you are blessed with wonderful relationships, you need to connect as soon as possible, right?
Yeah, that's good advice. I'm going to try to reconnect as best as I can with the time that I got. One of the things that I deal with the students that I work with all over the country is they're really struggling to find out what their purpose in life is. And they're always wondering if they're on the right path. They're always kind of looking over the fence and saying, is it better over there? Or maybe it's better over here. They're just not really sure if they're on the right path, if they're going fast enough to reach
Right,
whatever their goal is. So, what is your suggestion for the college students who are listening right now to connect with their purpose in life?
right. So to connect with your purpose, you ask yourself, is this whatever I'm doing bringing me joy? So your purpose will bring you joy, happiness. Your purpose will make you not want to sleep at night because you just want to experience it the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are many people who don't know what their purpose is. Um, Somehow, for me, I always knew that I had messages to put out there into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that was coming my way was kind of leading me into that direction. And I just knew to follow that, right? But there's some people that just don't know, right? Like there's so many. Well, I had one friend who used to tell me, nothing gives me joy. I was like, how could that be? How could absolutely nothing bring you joy? And then there are other people who say, well, there's so many things that bring me joy, right? Like, I just can't choose which one it is. If you don't know, I always tell people, follow your curiosity. So something comes up into your life and you're curious about it, just follow it. Follow it. What you're going to find if you follow your curiosity is that at some point you'll be able to take a step back and you will see a connection between all these things you're curious about, and then your purpose will become obvious. So I think some people just know their purpose, some people don't know their purpose, but either way, you do have a purpose. And some people realize it when they're young, like I knew it when I was in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And other people just can't find it until they're much older. But just you have to experience that joy, that
Mm-hmm.
joy. So follow your curiosity. At some point in your life, connect all the things you've done that brought you joy, and you'll find your purpose.
That's perfect advice. I absolutely love that. Now, I have a sense that you like really good food. I think you know good food because you're right there on the border of New York and New Jersey. You're home to some of the best foods on the planet. I mean, the pizza and the bagels and the pasta and all of that is just so good where you live. What is your favorite restaurant so I can go and check that out the next time I'm coming home?
So I drive myself crazy. Needless to say, I'm Greek.
Hmm.
I love Greek food because that's what I grew up with.
Sure.
And I drive myself crazy because I always want to go to my favorite Greek restaurant. And the name of it is Anemos, which is Anemos,
Hmm.
and that's in Manalapan, which is by Freehold.
Uh,
Um, every single morning, I wake up with the smell of bagels at the corner of my house.
so good. Oh,
I know. It's like, even if you don't eat them, you're gaining calories. I just know it just
yeah.
by the smell,
Uh-huh.
even though
Uh-huh.
your nose kind of brings them there. So I live in South Amboy. If you come out of the South Amboy train station,
Mhm.
you will see them right there. And like I said, every single morning, they're making the bagels.
Oh, so good. Oh man, I miss that so much. Yeah, I
Um,
listen, I like Greek food too, but I mean those, those carbs, those bagels and pizza and pasta. Oh my God, I can eat for days over there.
for the pizza place,
Uh-huh.
I actually went out and asked people, "What's your favorite?" Like, my favorite pizza is Skirtino's. That's like again around the corner from my house, and
Yeah.
everybody was telling me I'm crazy. They were saying Federici's and Freehold
Ooh,
is
nice.
the best.
Yeah.
And then for Italian food, if you have not been to Luca's in
Mhm.
Edison, I yeah, it's famous. I mean, it's really out of this world.
I'm so jealous, man. I need to like get to town and really just like for a week just eat my way through New Jersey. I mean, the food is just so delicious. Oh my gosh. All right. So now I'm hungry. Now I got to go eat dinner. All right. So if if the students who are listening, if they want to go and buy your book, or maybe they want to invite you to come and speak on their college campus, where should they go to connect with you?
So my website is recreatesuccessnow.com. So recreatesuccessnow.com. And one of the things that they could get in my website is I have created a booklet called 5 Ways to Self-Love. So that everyone could it's a free booklet. You could go and download it and take inventory of all the great things you've done in your life and all the things that you know you're talented in. And hoping that every single person who listens to this podcast falls in love with themselves
Hmm.
and knows how perfect they are.
That's fantastic. What a way to leave it. I love it. Go to the website, go and check out all the free resources that Maria has for her. Connect with her, buy her book. The book is absolutely incredible. I read it. You should read it too. And what can I say? Invite Maria to come to your college campus and talk more about it. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for being with us today, Maria.
Thank you so, so much, Michael. What a privilege. Thank you. And thank you to your audience. I know they're absolutely amazing. Thank you so, so much.
They are. They are absolutely amazing. They're going to change the world and make it a better place for us. So I'm so thankful that they're here. And if you're listening to this, you enjoyed Maria's talk today, make sure that you like it. Make sure that you share it on social media. Make sure you pick up her book. And thank you for being here. We hope to see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. We'll see you next time.